Hello and welcome. I'm a hotel AI expert, and I'm very pleased to welcome all students of Europe Hotel School to your online learning journey. We look forward to supporting your professional growth. Now, in the hotel world, you'll find that some of the most critical systems are the ones guests never even see. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most important, the relationship between the front office and the food and beverage department. It's a connection that can literally make or break a guest's entire stay.
The best way to really wrap your head around this is to stop thinking of them as two separate departments. Instead, I want you to picture a single living system, right? It's this continuous flow of information, always adjusting, always moving. From the second a guest books their room all the way to the moment they check out, it shapes absolutely everything in between.
So let's talk about this invisible system. Think of it as the engine that's really driving the guest experience. And here's the thing. Guests don't see it. They have no idea it's there. But its smooth operation, well, that's the difference between a truly seamless stay and a really frustrating one.
So what you're seeing here are two completely different realities, right? On one side, when that information flow is smooth, the guest's stay just feels effortless. It's intuitive. But when it's disrupted, that's when you get confusion, gaps in service, and what we call a chain reaction of errors. And here's the main takeaway. Even one tiny little communication mistake can snowball into a huge problem for the guest.
All right, so where does this all begin? Well, this whole process kicks off long before a guest even sets foot in the lobby. It starts with the reservation. You have to think of that reservation as the blueprint for their entire stay. And at this stage, let me tell you, precision is absolutely everything.
Now, I want you to think of the details in a reservation as what we call operational signals. This isn't just boring administrative data, okay? We're talking about guest count, meal plans, any special requests. These are all crucial, actionable pieces of intelligence. They're signals that tell the F&B team exactly how to prepare, how many staff they need, what inventory to order, and how to plan their service.
On the surface, this flow of information looks pretty simple, right? A guest makes a reservation, the front office enters the details, and F&B prepares. Easy. But it's actually incredibly fragile. That middle step, the data entry by the front office, that's the critical link in the chain. If that data entry is even slightly flawed, the F&B team is already set up for a major challenge, and the guest hasn't even walked through the door yet.
Okay, so the guest has checked in, they've arrived, now we're moving into the in-house experience. This is where all that pre-arrival data, that blueprint we talked about, gets put to the test in real time. This is where the blueprint becomes the actual building.
So, here's the million-dollar question. What happens when that blueprint is wrong? What happens when the data that the F&B team is depending on is just incorrect? Well, the consequences are immediate, and they're felt directly by the guest.
Let's use the most common example there is, breakfast. It's the daily checkpoint, right? Imagine a guest comes down expecting the breakfast that was included in their package, but the restaurant's list says something different. Why? Because their meal plan wasn't entered correctly by the front office. Instantly, right there, you've created a really awkward, uncomfortable situation, and that immediately starts to break down the guest's trust.
And this is so important. We have to remember how this feels from the guest's perspective. When their special anniversary dinner package isn't honored, or the gluten-free meal they requested isn't ready, for them, it isn't just some logistical hiccup. To them, it feels like a promise the hotel made and then broke. And that emotional impact, it's just incredibly powerful. This is exactly why the front office's role at check-in is so vital. It's about so much more than just handing over a room key. It's that one perfect moment to verbally confirm all the package details, to clearly explain what's included, and to set crystal clear expectations. That one single conversation can prevent dozens of potential headaches down the line.
But look, this system isn't just about damage control. It's not just about preventing problems. When it works perfectly, when everything is in sync, it moves way beyond simple efficiency and starts to create these moments of genuine delight. And it does that through personalization.
So what kind of information are we talking about here? Well, first, of course, are the critical things, like dietary restrictions, allergies, halal, gluten-free. That's all about safety and showing you care. But it's also about personal preferences. Maybe their favorite table by the window or a specific drink they like, and of course, special occasions. When the front office passes this goldmine of information to F&B, the team can be proactive. They can turn what would be a standard experience into something truly memorable.
And listen, this isn't just some fluffy, nice-to-have thing. There is a rock-solid business case for this. Personalization is a massive driver of loyalty. When guests feel seen, when they feel understood and cared for, like when the restaurant already knows about their allergy or brings out a little surprise dessert for their anniversary, they feel valued. And that feeling, that's what makes them come back time and time again.
Okay, let's move to the final and honestly, maybe the most sensitive part of the entire journey, checkout and billing. Because all of that amazing goodwill you've built up over their entire stay, it can all be completely undone right here with just one single error. Think about it. The final bill, that is often the very last interaction a guest has with your hotel. A clean, accurate bill reinforces a wonderful experience. But a bill that's full of errors, it leaves a lasting sour taste. It can tarnish the memory of an otherwise perfect stay.
Let's look at a classic example here. The guest bought a package deal, so in their mind, their anniversary dinner and those welcome drinks were included. But look at the final bill. They're showing up as separate charges. So now, right when they're trying to leave, they have to stand there and argue about the bill. It's frustrating, it causes delays, and it's a direct result of a communication breakdown about what was actually in that package.
So what's the solution? At the end of the day, it all comes down to a mindset of shared ownership. The front office's job isn't over just because they've updated the system, and the F&B team's job isn't just about serving the food. Both departments, everyone, has to feel a sense of ownership over the entire guest journey, from beginning to end, until that guest has checked out and is completely happy.
Which brings us to one final crucial question. We have all this incredible technology, right? Advanced property management systems, everything. But is the system the real solution? Or is it simply the tool? A tool that, frankly, only works when it's in the hands of disciplined, collaborative people who are absolutely committed to clear communication. How we choose to answer that question, well, that's going to define the future of guest service.